So, but we have to think about that when we're confronted with these awakening moments, because sometimes those awakening moments actually are the first time we're really thinking about what do I have to confront in my life and what I've done do. So I'm curious about what were your initial thoughts and feelings about that?
Well, it really had to do with my job. And it wasn't a high-powered job, but I had an office, as I mentioned in the chapter, corporate card, and a little view came with my office. So, and I guess as individuals, we try to succeed in life. And to me, most people were like, okay, she works for a major bank. She has a little title, and then, they're giving her, a little carte blanche here. And I'm so unhappy. And I'm drowning. And so now I'm like, okay, what do I do? I don't want this. I have a mortgage. I have a husband. I got a car note. I have responsibilities. I just can't walk away. So when my doctor said what she said, and he literally, I didn't put this in the book, but he said, I'm going to take a step back. What does that mean? He said, give you some time off work. You need to step back. When can we start? Start really soon, because I'm losing it here. I'll never forget that day. I will share this. I'll be transparent. I was diagnosed Tuesday, and I literally, it was a Tuesday. I literally, it was like late evening. No, it was Monday. Tuesday morning, I'll never forget. I walked myself right into my office and took up some stuff. And I had printed out, MetLife was our insurance company at the time, and I printed out the document that I know he needed to sign. And I'm like, I'm checking out for 3 months, I'm gone. I am so gone. And I can legally, yes. I can't do this. And I looked around my office, and something told me, I'll never forget this, I don't think I'm coming back. I don't think I'm coming back to this. And I had somebody walk out with me, and I went right to my doctor's office, and they signed papers. I sent it. So I had prior to that, I sent out a notice, and I'm like, I gotta go. I have to go. And I went home, got on that train, and I felt a sense of relief. But I didn't have a plan. There was no plan. And as time started to get closer for me to come back to work, I said, I got to work back in there. I can't go back in there. I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I did. I didn't go back.
And first of all, thank you for being transparent and courage this year. That's been,
thank you.
I think that notion of sometimes the personal sacrifices we have to make for ourselves is something that we take for granted. And a lot of us are quick to do it for other people. Not necessarily for us, but you and us as individuals. So I thank you for that. And I think some of the issues you identified was this need to sacrifice.
Yes.
As one of the points.
Yeah.
And really kind of making that decision to sacrifice, just to undo sort of whatever unhealthy condition you experience at the moment. And so I'm curious then about, could you describe some of the beliefs and actions that give you the confidence to say, I'm not going back?
To be honest with you and everyone in here, we're all friends, right? I put it in God's hands. I'm about to check out. So you're going to have to figure this one out for me, because I can't do this anymore. And so I went home, told my husband. We really didn't have a conversation about it. But I was like, bills will get paid some kind of way. I was just winging it. I was really winging it. And I was like, it's by the grace of God, because I didn't know what to do. But I had a savings account, and I'm like, I just can't go back. And I'm believing it's going to get worked out. I had someone say to me one time, Delores, it always gets worked out.
That's true.
And I'm like, no, you're right. And I'm stressing, and she's like, it always gets worked out. Don't know how, but it gets worked out. So 3 months came and went. I need an extension. I can't go back. And eventually I was denied an extension. I was like, I can't do this. What am I going to do? And then my husband eventually was like, well, are you going to go back to work? And we really didn't talk about my diagnosis. We didn't talk about anything. And I'm being really transparent. But I'm like, I can't go back there. And he's like, well, okay. But he didn't really question too much because of everything's getting paid. Didn't miss a beat at home. I'm spending money for my savings account. I'm just, because it's there for a rainy day. Well, it's just boring. This is it. I can't do this. And about one of the things I will say, I encourage everyone to network. You need to network, okay? When I was working, I had some of the best evaluations. My boss used to say, one of the people I worked with, he was great. He said, you manage relationships well. You know, certain things I didn't know how to do, but I knew I could call and get stuff done. You know, I ain't believe it. I'm like, look, this is what I need done. Can you tell me? You know, and he said, you manage relationships well. And I was great. I was thankful for that. But everything it said on my past evaluations, you would have thought I walked on water. Really, you would have thought I walked on water. And here it is, I'm just like, I don't know what to do. So, but people knew me. And then I got a call one day, Delores, are you interested in coming back to work? This is job. And first time I said, no. You put me back in there, no. And then the second time, I picked up the phone and called somebody. And it was so well received, but once again, I had built up my reputation, my character as a person, as an individual, that this person was like, oh, okay. So when I called and said, you're not getting ready to go back to work, and I don't know what I really want to do. And he said, well, let me get back to you. Call me back. I said, well, look, this is job. It's not like what you used to do. It's nothing high level. I was like, thank you. I said that. He said, but you know, so to him, it was like, it's gonna put you down here. I'm okay with that. I don't need the level of responsibilities. I don't need the office. I don't need a corporate car. I don't need any of it. I'm good. I'm good. And I'll never forget, and he was the chairman of a company down on Wall Street. And at the time, this is like, I couldn't believe, I know people. You know, I know people. And during my HR phase, and I had to get vetted and all that other great stuff and fingerprinted, and when the young lady said to me, she said, who referred you? And I gave her the name. She was like, oh, okay. She said, well, we never had anyone that's seen you before. It referred to me. I was like, look, I'm not a big deal, trust me. You see my title, right? Right here. I'm good. And so I started a new job, and I was so happy not to be in one of those offices. And I was like, I'm so happy. I'm like, I'm going right ahead, have those meetings. I'm straight, you know. So I was really, really happy about that. But once again, I encourage people to network, let people know who you are and what you're capable of. And it's just at that point, I knew I didn't want to do that anymore. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to do that anymore.
And that kind of gets me into another question. There's another topic we talk about, it's like money. It's really what kind of is our kind of passion, things that and they're a deeper sense of things that we long for. They're kind of connected to sort of our sense of authentic self. It's like, so sometimes you might not even express your wanting out loud. It might just be stuff to say to yourself, and you might be working towards that. And so I'm wondering, based on your experience, because you talked a lot about what you didn't want.
Right.
Did you, well, I know you said you were kind of getting there. So were you able to start thinking about what is my true self want at this moment?
You know, I really couldn't pinpoint it until I got this dog. You know, I tell you, this guy said God is awesome. I get this dog. I was taking a Zumba class, and this gentleman there, he had a dog, and I love dogs. Right? We love dogs. And he, make a long story short, he was battling cancer, and chemo wasn't kind to him. And he said, look, I don't think I can continue to take care of my dog anymore. He said, would you like to know, I love this dog. And he said, would you be willing to take, Max? And I was like, well, because I told my husband, and we were like, well, we were thinking about getting a puppy, but he's 7 years old, and I was gonna say no. And one of the sweetest things my husband said to me, I'll never forget, he goes, I said, well, I don't want a depressed dog. He said, because he's gonna miss his previous owner, and I don't want that. And so he said, well, he's gonna be depressed somewhere. He might as well be depressed here. I loved it. I was like, really? Well, get this dog. He's a schnauzer. okay, was a Schnauzer. Standard Schnauzer. Don't know anything about Schnauzers. Get this dog, and let me tell you, 2 weeks in my home, gave him full range of the house, bought him 3 beds, trying to make him comfortable. My husband's online buying him every sports jersey because he's got to represent, right? And it was so cute. And what we did, because we wanted him to be so comfortable, we let Max just be himself. Like, he was very, I don't say not rigid, but I mean, he had structure, he was very obedient. He wasn't obedient with us. I mean, he had us well trained. That was he had us well trained, and we let him do whatever he wanted to do. And my husband started cooking for him. I was like, this is ridiculous. We went with the flow. And one night, what happened? My husband went out of town. I'm gonna get to your point, and I'll never forget this. He goes out of town, and I was just Max and I were in the house, and it was about 3:30 in the morning. I'll never forget it. I'm thinking he has to go outside. I'm gonna open up the garage door. You're gonna go out do your business, and you're gonna come back in his house. Well, that didn't happen. I opened up the door. Now I thought it was a stray cat that had, just ran across the lawn. Oh shoot! So Max sees it. Max goes and chases the cat, and I'm like, don't do that. And I'm like this with my gown on. Oh shoot! My neighbors are gonna see me. So he ran to this creature ran on the porch. The porch light comes on. Max goes to the porch. I'm on the porch. That's not a cat. That's a skunk. Oh! I said, Max, run. Oh my gosh, you gotta run. This is not going to end well. And this dog stood there, and it was a young skunk. He's gonna spray. He's gonna spray. Oh no! And sure enough, he sprayed. Stop! Gosh, try it. And I'm furious. I'm out here in my gown. My dog just got sprayed. The skunk run. I said, Max, shoot! What are we gonna do? And the smell. We ever had the smell of a skunk? It is strong. It is powerful. It is bad. And I'm like, it's 3:30 in the morning. I don't even call for my neighbors. Eventually, somebody gonna say, Delores, what are you doing out there with your night? And they're just looking. I was like, oh man, this is not good. This really isn't good. So I go get in the house. I couldn't care less about Max. You stay right out here in the street. I don't care. I really don't care. And now I'm Googling, what am I going to do? I got to get dressed. I don't have tomato paste or sauce. I got to go to Walmart. I'm bummed. I am so bummed. I said, shoot, I can't leave him out here like this. I put him in the garage with the door down. I go to Walmart, come back from Walmart, and I'm like, I open up the garage door, now it reeks. So now I got to put him in the shower, bathtub. I'm like, where am I putting him? Because he stinks so bad. And I knew when he was out, I let him stay out. I said, nothing's going to bother him. I said, you guys protected as it is. Because nothing's going to disturb him at all. Nothing. And to make a long story short, I finally pulled it together. I'm bathing him the whole bit. It was about 11 a.m. By the time I was able to just take a deep breath. Opened up all the windows, and he stunk, but it wasn't as bad. And at this point, I'm like, I'm done, I'm so done. So I text my husband, and I'm like, what were you doing at 3:30 in the morning? Let me tell you what I did. Now I'm angry, I got a vent. So I decided to put this story on Facebook. Okay. The responses I received, because I'm very creative about it. I read the storyteller, right? So I'm just telling the story. People loved it. They loved it. And to me, that was an introduction because I enjoyed telling the story. As furious as I was going through the incident, I was lit with that. So I said, look, we ain't doing this again. But I told the story and people loved it, which prompted me, because now this dog is in my house and we're doing things and we're letting him do things. And so now he's giving me more stories. So I'm online, and I'm talking about Max. People loved it. And I said, well, I'm enjoying telling you these stories. And then one of my girlfriends in Virginia, she said, her colleague said to her, so what is Max up to now?